Everyone can very easily look at Bhagavad Gita and hear what Lord Krishna says. Actually, knowledge of consciousness and our real identity is considered the ABCs of spiritual life. Without understanding the ABCs, how can human society get anything right? And that's what you've seen happening now. The question of our identity is actually at the bottom of the problems. What is bewildering social thinkers, political thinkers, economic thinkers? Ultimately, the bewilderment is about our identity. So, in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Asmin dehe, within this body there's something else, which is not material. When we think about the ramifications of that, we can then see how our whole society is misguided. That our identity is non-material means that we should understand what are non-material activities and non-material goals. Krishna says that just as the child has a future to be a teenager, the teenager has a future to be an adult, the adult has a future to be an old person. Similarly, that phase of life known as death also has a future. Krishna explains that for one who has died, birth is certain, and for one who has been born, death is certain. Now, why is it that we consider death to be the end, when you could look at it as just another phase, another change? Indeed, some people, especially New Agers, they commonly refer to death as transition. Indeed, it is a transition, but a transition from where to where? And what is transiting? These questions are the basis of a real human society. Now let's consider, if we don't know what is our next body, how risky this life is. For example, suppose you and your partner, husband, wife, you're living together, and you say to your husband or wife, don't mind that we don't know when we can be kicked out of this apartment. We have no lease. It's a nice apartment, and we're happy here, but don't mind my telling you that at any moment we can be kicked out. Still, I want you to feel secure. I want you to be happy. Everything is fine. Who would accept such? Especially what wife would accept such? Insecurity and ignorance. No. You would want to know from your spouse, from your partner, well, what will our next apartment be? Do we have enough money saved in order to get the next apartment? We don't know when we can be kicked out of this apartment, even though it's so nice. We have to be prepared. We have to think of the future. Everyone would think like that, yes. But when it comes to this body and our stay in this body, we're not worried about the future. So let's look at more ramifications, consequences of our being different from the body. You know you're not the car that you drive. Still, you are aware of different makes of cars, their advantages, disadvantages. If you could afford it, you'd love to drive a Mercedes, BMW. If you can't afford those luxury cars, you want a good car that won't break down immediately. What about bodies? Bodies are also vehicles. Krishna explains this in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Yantra rudhani maya. Krishna in Sanskrit explains the body is a machine, and we're riding in that machine. There are different qualities of machines. Now, how is it that you can get the best possible body machine? Understanding the answer to this question means there has to be real education. Not that I just live in this body and have no idea how I got this body. What will the next body be? I don't think about all that. Just let me enjoy the stimulations of this body now, and let me effectively fight off any distresses to this body. That's the ultimate goal of life. This doesn't make sense. We want to know, what are the qualifications for getting the best body? This is what Bhakti Yoga involves. Bhakti Yoga is the top of the yoga ladder, and it concerns itself with how we are not the body, how we are spirit soul, and goes far beyond that. But we'll never understand real yoga, we'll never understand real meditation without having a complete and comprehensive grasp of our non-material identity. And this lack of understanding is what is inhibiting the welfare of society. It's inhibiting people's yoga practice and meditation practice. So therefore, in the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives everything straight. Asmin dehe, he says in Sanskrit, you are within the body. There's another point I'd like to comment on, especially for those of you who are scientifically educated or who are aware of scientific issues. Sometimes people argue that you're a dualist. You're saying that there's some kind of ghost within the body, and there's the body. So you're implying that there are two separate substances that have nothing to do with each other. This doesn't make any sense. No, Krishna is not teaching dualism. Krishna is not presenting to you in Bhagavad Gita two completely unrelated phenomena. The body and then the real identity, the spirit soul. Both of these substances are related in that they both emanate from Krishna. So therefore, rather than say we're speaking about dualism, it would be better to say we're speaking about emanationism. Everything emanates from Krishna. So matter and spirit are connected in terms of their common source. So once you understand the common source, once you understand Krishna, then everything falls into place. Therefore, we recommend Krishna consciousness, just as Krishna teaches in Bhagavad Gita.